Greetings, Marsh here, and welcome to episode 354 of my modded Factorio playthrough. In this episode, we are finally going to make our tier 8 modules. Enjoy! Is this any different than what was done before? Looks like we did it kind of backwards, but the 5s is an input of 6 things. It looks like we didn't really do it that way, but this craziness in the middle is probably useful. So let's grab a couple of these and just put it somewhere for now. Replace the parts with ones we're currently using. And let's go left to right here. So that would be 6. And that's 7. So the way this works is that both sides get access to essentially all 3 air quotes belts. That they both get access to this one on the left. They both get access to one on the right, and they also get access to the chests in the middle, which are just the buffer chests here, just to hand things over. And let's set this so it'll work by its less than 1. But we do need to switch the direction of this to go the other way. So, we basically want to do same thing again. Of course, these recipes change back. Wow, speed module 8s. And then what they don't share are the diamonds and the transistors. So this machine needs, well, one inserter is handling the speed module, so it needs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items as input. So it's going to come from somewhere. And let's put a passive provider here. I don't know, like 100? Is that about what these other ones are holding? Yeah, just about. So solder is going to have to come in, but that might work best if we just put the machine right in the middle. And we'll do the request chest right here. And hopefully that's all the resources we need. It looks like it's actually going to take up a reasonable amount of space to the point that it won't fit here. So we probably should use some of this space on the end. So that's what we'll do. Let's line it up right here. 2 spaces. And I guess we are going to need those transistors after all. Although this is kind of backwards. Ugh, it won't let us flip it. That's annoying. Oh well then. Although, if we just cut that out. Now we can. And when we get all this set up, we'll be able to basically copy the belts and have everything line up. Well, we've got 4 slots for 4 board colors, I suppose. Well, that took a little bit of beltception to get in there. Probably should hook up these as we do them, just to make sure all the resources are being covered. Because it's a lot that needs to get in here. Okay. So we need the gemstones and the original modules, but we need to make sure all of these are set right. Where it's 4 speeds. And a pollution, let's just make these all speeds, because then it'll be easier to change the last one here. And then the other ones need just the all speeds. Okay, so it's just gems, just speed modules. One can be regular, one can be near. And what's the closest we can bring the gems to? Basically down here. They will have a bit of ways to fly, although actually bringing them over here might be better. And in fact, we can just keep this going up to like right there. Because all these different modules will require the same gemstones in the end. Although they won't be exactly the same here, because they'll all have the different colored boards, so exactly which belts line up will be different. But hopefully it'll be relatively close. Okay, let's see what this looks like. Let's see, this middle one needs its topazes. But in fact, it could get them from this one right here. So let's take that off. And put that there instead. Because it kind of wastes a belt to have things on both sides here when this one in the middle only needs access to one. So because of that, let's hop that one over there. And have another requester there. I guess we'll do the 2 gems in the middle. Then we'll basically need an extra belt on this last one. And hopefully this all works. We should see these have everything but the modules and the gems, which seems to be true. It's a little messy, but in the end it's not too bad. And we can just copy this whole thing over a few times to get all the modules. Now we need to get the last few types of gems. And once we do this, we will be basically using every gem type. So we need emeralds, topazes, and diamonds. Oh, that path isn't connected there. In fact, we probably don't even need this thing. Yeah, it's complaining because nothing's hooked up here. And the nearest fuel depot is actually kind of far away. So let's just put one right here. Looks like we're making our biome planners at full tilt now. The fuel trucks get here. And there they go. Now we just need to wait for them, because we kind of want to make sure that all this works before we copy it a few times. Meanwhile, how are the biters doing? They are short on something. No meat. Because no goo. Because no mud. Because saline water is full. Ah. Is that because the factory is just completely full on salt? Basically, looks like it. Well, I can think of a thing that would consume a bunch of salt, and that's making more batteries. So my idea here is that we move the tree setup and make it better, because we now have access to tier 3 of growing trees. We also have access to tier 3 of making pulp and tier 3 of making paper. So right now we're only doing tier 1 of all of it. The only thing that we've upgraded to tier 3 is the saw blades to save a little bit of iron. But there is a lot of upgrades we can do on this tree setup, and one problem is that it uses a lot of saline water because of the amount of mud that it needs with all this tier 1 stuff. So we'll have to compare what tier 3 is compared to tier 1. I bet it uses a lot less saline water, and then we wouldn't be overloaded with salt nearly as much. Nonetheless, if we picked it up, we could rebuild it somewhere, hopefully with tier 8 modules. And then this brick setup we need, and it does run, just not very often, but we need them for buildings. That is small enough and square enough that we can just pick anywhere. And those are the only things that need water out of this little river. So we can just cover the whole thing up, and we'd probably have to pick all these accumulators up and place them in a better spot, but it seems like that is something that we can do. So let's get ready for it then. Basically come through here, fill all this, and I guess right up to here, because that's right about at the point where we would need to move stuff. Of course, doing this is going to create a lot of saline water too, because I think my new goal is now 2 terajoules, because 1 is just not quite enough. Like, it is enough for plutonium, but we are sometimes wasting the solar power, so we kind of need to upgrade. And since making batteries uses an enormous amount of salt, that's a great thing to do right now. 1 more module to go. Looks like all the landfill has been placed. So right as the bots are ready to relax, they've got more work to do. And now that that is down, we can start placing these patterns, but we do need to Remove anything that might be in the way. Oh wow, that perfectly fits. Alright, that'll give the robot some work to do. Well, we could basically expand up to here because we're very clearly going to need a lot more space. There we go. Let's go with that for now. Okay, finally. The gems made it. So we can set these. Polished diamonds. Polished topazes. And polished emeralds. So the only thing we should be waiting on are the actual modules. Looks like I ordered the wrong thing. Darn, now we're gonna have to wait for it. I got topazes from somewhere else. Oh, it must have been on the bus. Yeah, well, that was closer. Well, good enough for me. So everything is ready, but the speed modules. So we need speed module 5s, and 100 of them. And they'll soon be here. And there we go. Actually, since a lot's going to be going on here, we should probably give the robots somewhere to park and to charge if they need it. So let's include that as part of the design. But it's all looking great. We are pounding out speed module 8s plus 320% energy consumption for 160% speed. And that will give us about 1 a second. So it's not much, but the rest of the module setups also produce that much. So in that sense, it's pretty close. So now we need to copy this whole thing. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Put it back, put it back. In fact, let's just make a blueprint of it. Make life easier. Let's remove all unnecessary belts, just to make sure they fit. And we'll also remove the request for the modules. And that slides in a lot better. So we're going to need 4 of these. And all the requests will basically be the same. As far as gemstones and whatnot. We're just going to need to change which boards get in there. It's a little funny that the train tracks are going through the bus a little bit, but this is pretty much the end of it, so I think it's okay. Now we need to get all these recipes changed. It's a little monotonous to do it, but it's also quite exciting. Might as well push these boards forward now. Make sure they line up with where they need to go. Okay, the modules are here. So, all that's left is hooking this up and hopefully seeing the rest of the tier 8s. Well, this one isn't going. No solder. Although, I did remember for the other ones. I just didn't connect it there. Because we're getting our productivity 8s. And we're getting our pollution cleaning 8s. Amazing. Of course, the very first thing we want to do is get rid of the old modules and request 100 of each tier 8. Alright, well, we're starting to get them. So efficiency is just negative 160. It still matches speed 8. Productivity is minus 60% speed for 40% productivity and 40% pollution. So really, with productivity 8s, 2 modules to hit the minimum speed of a machine, and then from there it's just pollution and free resources. And then minus 80% for pollution module 8. Looking good. So we need to do the pollution producing modules now. We're not making them. We are making the boards, so we'll probably have to send those the long way around. But also, because they'll be produced in such small quantities, We could probably just use robots for it. Like, really just use one machine and call it a day. Because these modules are only going to go into weird stuff like air filters that consume pollution but aren't farms. Because the farms would get the agricultural modules, so very rarely would those pollution producing modules actually go into anything. So let's just be super lazy with this last one here. Let's just kind of figure out how it would work. Well, first of all, it would have to make each module, and every time it goes up, it's going to take more and more time. So this is going to be stupendously slow at making modules. But it also doesn't matter. But since we are making an actual setup, as lazy as I want to be about it, let's compute by factory do 1 and put all speeds in there. Wow, that actually is produces a third of what we would need. Basically, let's just go down the list here. It's annoying, but we're doing it to figure out which modules we need. Maybe we should just pick all these up, because if we put these down, they'll automatically get the modules that we calculated for. Then one inserter goes up to each. Let's line it up with those machines, give it 2 spaces. And a little bit of parking. And also a substation. So we'll just copy over, except remove the module from the request. The requirements get longer and longer, but we'll see what we don't have. Module cases and main boards. And then we need the better boards. Well, we're getting the correct items right now, but I think it's just because it's in a buffer chest. So let's pull them off there. Right there. And right there as well. It's super inefficient to do it this way, but I don't feel like building all of the components again. We also do need a little bit of solder, and that is very easy to make. So that's getting everything it needs. Same there. Now we need to make those 2 boards. And sure, let's just be lazy about it again. Where that's the tier 2. That's the tier 3. Who knows how many of these we need. But because it's only a single machine, we probably want to stack it to the roof with speed modules. But that's going to be insane. 960% crafting speed. And the inputs are crazy too. That's funny. I don't think it needs to be that fast. Let's balance it out. And probably want quite a few charge pads here, just in case. Alright, let's connect that. And there it's going. They're starting to make their way down the chain. And there we go. Pollution producing modules. Might have to look at the balance of those in a bit, but hopefully these resources aren't coming from anywhere particularly crazy. That's kind of the problem with just using robot logistics like this, is if you don't have your network set perfectly right, you could have robots doing loops or just doing very strange things. So hopefully it's set properly. Well, they're bringing copper from all the way down there, so I can tell that's not good. And they're bringing the crystals from who knows where. I think we could do better with the crystals. And certainly with the copper as well. Because, I mean, copper is right here. And these crystals are actually nearby too. Although it might be a little easier to get them by just coming from up here. So is anything else coming from a weird spot? It's actually very rare that we ever have any logistics robots doing anything. It's almost always construction robots, so they stand out. So they're taking silver from somewhere over here, it looks like. Yeah, I mean, that's fine, I guess, but we can do better because silver is right here. So let's make the request for our new modules. Just waiting on those agriculturals, but they're not researching very fast because we're out of something again. The plant life samples. And it's not running for some reason. Alright, let's check it out. No mineralized water. I mean, that's a supply depot, but it's disabled. Looks like to stop a loop from happening. Actually, let's check here. Mineralized water. Supply depots. Okay, so we have 2 request depots, but no supply depots. One of them is right here, and the other one is where we're standing. So if those are the only 2, then we don't need any special logic. We can basically remove all of this. So now that we've removed those things, it's sending for some drones. And that also means we don't need this logic here, so we might as well remove it, as to not be confused about why it's still there if it's not doing anything. And let's fill this up to like 10k. Mineralized water is cheap. Let's make a lot of it. Okay, looks like this thing's still working. It's just going relatively slow, but that's kind of what we would expect. And this chest is empty because we're getting supplied with the modules. So while we're waiting here, let's take a look at the module balance, where it's plus 50% pollution compared to the cleaning module, which does negative 10. So if I recall, originally the pollution was 3 times higher on these productivities, which meant it was 15 per tier, and the producing module does 50. So about 3 times as much. So if we're doing minus 10 for cleaning, we would want it to be like plus 30% instead of plus 50. So right here it's 0.5, which is plus 50. So we'd want to make it a little bit less. Plus 30. Okay, we're back. And it looks like both the fissure and the oil well are getting drained rather quickly right now, but the fissure kind of makes sense because it goes into making our batteries. So when we're making batteries, it drains quickly. But there are many fissures. Got some up here and some over there. So we've got options. And it looks like almost all of the accumulators are placed. We've got 1.2 terajoules now. So this seems to be a safe spot to remove at least the old ones that we would replace. And in fact, we'd probably want to come to up here and then right there. Get rid of those because they're in the way. And then use all of those things you just picked up. To put them back down. So many robots. It's kind of hard to see what's going on, but I trust them that they're doing what they're supposed to. Although one thing we are going to need to move is the signal transmitter, which is kind of tricky because it needs to go somewhere. Well, we should probably go down there and do it ourselves, but the drones are about to get here so we can see if this works. So we're delivering the mineralized water. Well, these ones don't even have a recipe anymore because something about it changed. So because of that, let's kind of retrofit this thing to run on what we've got to double production. Okay. All of those are identical now. So looking at this whole setup, now it is slightly negative on the gardens, which is good. We're using all of these machines, and now we're making way more plant life samples. Whenever we've got enough of them built up. It'll probably take a little while. And those accumulators are mostly placed again. Let's keep moving up the landfill. But I guess we'll just do this for now, and it technically leaves enough space for, well, most of these pumps. Not all of them, but In fact, we can probably just remove these altogether, because there are other pumps. Have the biters paid us a visit? Not over there. Oh, but over here is a yes. Pollution's not too bad, at least not in the middle. So I'd say we're starting to get a handle of this, that it spikes up when we're doing stuff, but then when we're not, it dissipates relatively quickly. Okay, we need to find a new spot to get the A signal from, because when we disconnect that, Factory's going to think it has no accumulator charge and then start wasting plutonium. Down here in the corner is as good of a place as any. It's at least out of the way, which is good. Get the concrete down. Okay, let's just put it here, I suppose. Grab from the corner accumulator. And now that's adding A, and A is above 100% because they're adding their two together. So we'll come in, take that one out, and now we have the actual number. Let's get all of this removed. And here they come. But we got more. Well, good, that fit. And let's keep going up to match the other one. And since we're taking it this far, and there's so much water down here, and it's unlikely that anything would be placed down there, why not continue the landfill? And temporarily, we can get this stuff hooked up so trees can be at full power again. And that's the end of this episode. On the next one, we are going to start getting ready for gold science. Thanks for watching. I'll see you later.